This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 401.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash. 404 error. Page not found. Links aren't working. System is crashing. System is crashing. System is crashing.
Your old HTML website. Barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website. Better than it was before. Better. Stronger.
Faster. We have the technology. The technology.
Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silver, the host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events, I'm excited. WordCamp Spain next week coming up here, November 3rd through 6th. So actually not your traditional weekend, if I'm not mistaken, since this episode drops on the 1st. So this is going to be actually Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, it looks like. So 3rd through the 6th of November. Pretty cool. It's online, of course. Actually, that's wrong. No, yeah, it's Wednesday through Saturday. That's right, yeah. I looked at the wrong month for 1 second, but it's actually the right month. Anyway, yeah, so check that out. WordCamp Spain online. All right, moving on. Segment 1 in the news. Back on September 28th, WordFence, they have a team over there that does threat intelligence. They found some vulnerabilities about OptinMonster. OptinMonster is a service and tool that I use here in the agency side of my life. They found some problems. The new version of OptinMonster 2.6.5 does patch those vulnerabilities. So if you have not gotten those updated, you're going to want to do that. If you want to read about what was happening, what was going on, there'll be a link in the show notes as well. So thanks to WordFence for doing that. And they went through the right processes for disclosing those. They give companies time, information, what's going on, and not just like, throw them under the bus. So it's all been taken care of. So there you go. Also in the news, WordCamp US has an update. They are doing a city search for 2022. Interesting. So I put out the word to our local city here in Raleigh to see if we wanted to be committed to maybe commit to possibly hosting it. But I guess the issue really is, can the town, the city in question, work with WordCamp US and that level of 2,000 people on potential short notice of cancellation or major pullback of services needed because of COVID. We don't know what's going to happen, and it's in about a year from now. So Raleigh is, we're talking about it, but I think they're just doing a city search, not really looking for people to apply just yet. So it's interesting. There'll be a link in the show notes on there. If you want to go check it out, it's at us.wordcamp.org, and then it's that long URL. So I will put a link in the show notes there as well. All right, moving on to this week's Meat and Potatoes, segment 2. What is your emergency plan? So way back on episode 139, I spoke about having an emergency checklist. And I do believe it's super important to have that, but it's also a good time, it's been a long time, to revisit this topic and to make some additions to the overall list and the plan. And this time I wanted to not just talk about having the checklist of what to have on hand for each client and the respective sites, but also for your business. So let's just kind of recap and revisit the client side of things. So you kind of want to have these for everybody, including yourself. But if you don't have what I consider these, you're going to want to do it sooner versus later. First and foremost, the domain registrar for each one of your sites. Hover, GoDaddy, Namecheap, wherever you register the domain, you need to know what that is. Have it written up. The hosting provider. Now, these things can be separate. We separate ours because, case in point, I use Hover for everything. Hover does not host websites. So I use a combination of websites. I'm using Flywheel, Cloudways, those two I think are the right. SiteGround was one. Whoever you have, you're hosting there. It can be together. You can buy and host at the same place unless you're using Hover. Hover does not let you do that. But a lot of places let you and want you to keep it all there. We segment ours out for specific reasons. So know that as well. Along with that, your email, MX records. If you're providing email, managing that for a client, you want to have that record as well saved, all that data, that content. On the more technical thing here within WordPress itself and the server, the FTP or SFTP username and password, good to know, good to have in case you need to log into certain things in case of emergency. The database, username and password also. And then another bonus thing, some information you might want to gather for yourself and for your clients would be like their email service provider for newsletters, Aweber, MailChimp, ConvertKit, MailerLite, which I'm testing right now, which is pretty cool. So have that information if you are performing as an admin for them on those services. We manage a lot of those sites here, those services for clients, so I have all those logins as well. So, and of course, what you do with that, once you have all that data, where do you keep it? So I highly recommend you put it on a Post-it note under your keyboard. I'm just kidding. Rather, I recommend using a tool or a service like 1Password, FastPass, LastPass, something. Make sure, or it could also be, by the way, a password-protected document, but save it online somewhere, use the cloud, but make sure if you're using the cloud, any type of service, that there's end-to-end encryption. You want to make sure that that happens because you don't want to have passwords and logins vulnerable in their own right? Okay, so there you go. That's just kind of the recap there. Moving on to the business side of things. As we have muddled through COVID-19 as a world in this past, 18, 20 months now, something like that, what about other life-threatening situations? Hurricanes, winter weather, earthquakes, tornadoes, wildfire, floods. I mean, it sounds terrible, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen. So when COVID hit, many companies were not ready for people to work from home full-time. Now, lucky for many of us in the WordPress space, we're accustomed to working remotely. It just is what we do on a daily basis. But if that's not your situation, I recommend the following. First, and here's 5. I have 5 suggestions here. But number 1, try remote work. Maybe one day, but pick more than one person to do it because one person isn't going to have the same experience as everybody else. And then document what works and what doesn't work. Do you have access to email? Simple enough. Do you have access to servers? Maybe more difficult. Does the VPN work remotely from your home internet? Do you have access to the in-house tools, the CRM, whatever it may be, the calendar? It seems simple because we take it for granted, but do things work? Okay. Number 2, have an alternative place to meet in case of your office or home office is damaged. Where do you go to regroup and to assess what's going on with the company? Okay. Number 3, have emergency funds available. Now, if you're solo, if you're on your own, that's just on you. You want to put some cash away. You want to have maybe a prepaid debit card, something, credit card, obviously. If you're a large company, perhaps you have a set amount on a Visa gift card or a business credit card on file that you can just kind of give out to people. You have that number 2, you go back to that alternative place to meet, give them a credit card that has a $500 or $1,000 credit limit, let them use it for business-related expenses, to buy a new laptop, whatever it may be, and that way work can get started again, whatever happened, that kind of situation. Number 4, appoint leaders and a point of contact. Now, who's the person that oversees the company in the aftermath of a likely threat? Like the tornado, like I mentioned, or a hurricane or a fire. Now, in the event of that emergency, especially when it comes to evacuations, you can't rely on everyone to remember the procedures. So you need to let someone be the contact, to let them know what the procedures are. Let that person be own that content, own that process, if you will, the key master for emergencies when something like this happens, okay? And it can be multiple people. Maybe someone manages it for tornadoes and hurricanes, someone else manages earthquakes and fires, or maybe you have people on different parts of the world, East Coast, West Coast, if you're in the United States, etc. I'm just kind of letting you know some ideas there, okay? But you definitely want to have somebody be a point of contact, okay? And number 5, make all that information put down on a comprehensive list. Actually map out an absolute worst case scenario. What would happen if your entire office was flooded or burned down, right? And if your office happens to be your home, take that in consideration. Think about everything you need to do, really what you would need to do to keep things moving forward with ease, and just kind of go through that process and that, I don't know, I'm not sure what's the right word here. Not the routine, that something, I can't think of the word. You're all yelling at me like, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. But nonetheless, the exercise, go through that exercise. What's the worst case scenario? And figure out what it is that you would have to do to get back to work, okay? Because without work, you don't got money. Without money, you can't fix the problems, etc. Of course, I could always say get business insurance. That's a no-brainer, stuff like that. But lastly, once you have the once you have the plan in place, share it with your employees and your contractors. Get some feedback, adjust and update it, document it, and make sure it gets disseminated, not just you. Because if it's just you and you are the failed point of contact, then you have a major problem. All right, so there you go. Once again, just a reminder, have an emergency plan. We're coming into the end of the year. The stretch of 2021, 2022 is right around the corner, and I just want everyone to be in a place of confidence and comfortable when it comes to the new year as far as emergencies, just in case, because they're inevitable. They're going to happen. Things happen, things pop up. Have a plan. All right. Moving on, segment 3, tip and tool of the week. The people over at BeaverBuilder, the team at BeaverBuilder, released an update and a pro version of their Assistant plugin. It's called Assistant Pro. It lets you export, import, save page builder, templates, and other design assets to the cloud. Pretty cool. There's a price for it now. Actually, I think they do have a They do have a free level for one user account. $15 a month and $20 a month for a team. I'll put a link in the show notes. Pretty cool. I haven't gone through the new version yet. I remember testing this when it was like back in early beta, the free. There still is a free plugin. Basically, it just lets you create collections of templates, design assets, and it helps you kind of put things together quicker instead of having multiple places like Dropbox. It's kind of like, I guess it's like a virtual Dropbox for web development. So check it out. It's over at assistant.pro. And it'd be kind of cool. So there you go. All right, that's it for this week. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@kitchensinkwp.com, or use that speak pipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, become a Patreon, kitchensinkwp.com/Patreon. If you want to sponsor the show, you can do that. There's a form on the website. If you want some coaching, accountability, adamsilver.com. Would love to help you. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right, bye-bye.